He was definitely better at tactics and strategy than the Tsar. But the Tsar had a counselor, his name is Clausewitz. Clausewitz was a Prussian colonel, a Prussian officer, who, after Napoleon conquered Prussia, he defected to Russia. And what he did, he did a new kind of strategy. They called it total war or strategy in depth. You know, this was also the strategy that the Soviet Union used against Hitler when he invaded Russia. It was the same strategy, the strategy of Clausewitz. It's ironic because Hitler's generals were all Prussians, you know, and Stalin was a Russian, but he used Prussian strategy. And so he had the strategy. Now, it's interesting that after Hitler invaded Russia, Russia didn't have a good structure to oppose him. I mean, it's military technology. It's military logistics was inferior, but they had a very good strategy. They knew what they had to do. You know, basically the strategy was to cut the lines of supply, the Germans. As they advancing, cut the line of supplies, wait for the winter, and then strike back. So they started during wartime. They started organizing the war industry in accordance with this strategy. So this is what I call. I mean, business is war. I mean, if you have a strategy, you need a structure, but you need a structure to implement that strategy. You don't need a strategy in accordance with your structure, because you are going to fail. So look at the digital revolution, you know. So the big guys in the block, like IBM, for instance, yeah, it was the biggest guy on the court on the playfield, IBM, you know, and they had a very solid structure. And because they had this solid structure, they were very confident, but all their business was adapted to that structure. While Microsoft and Apple were like the small guys, you know. I mean, actually, they were not businesses. They were just what business? They were like garage. Apple was a garage business, you know. Like Bill Gates had an office in Albuquerque. He rented an office in a very cheap hotel, you know, and he was sleeping at night in his office. And so these were very small guys, you know, but they had a very good strategy, and their structure developed in time in organic relationship with their strategy. So the strategy was very flexible. So the structure had to be very flexible too, you know. So they had very flexible strategy, but they needed flexible structures. And for instance, take IBM. You know, if you were alive in the 80s, you know, early 80s or so on, you would go to IBM. You saw all those guys in black suit and suit and tie. You know, even their socks had a pattern for IBM. And
Eddie. I'm going to let you continue. We have Emily with us. Can you see them? Can you see the students?
I see only your face, and I can see a little signal. I wish you good health. Take care of yourself.
Okay, so maybe later you can point the laptop in a way so Eddie can see you guys. I'm going to quit at this point because because of too many computers, I think it's cutting down from the good reception. But Eddie, I sent you an email with the topics for 11 o'clock. Did you get them?
That's fine. I got it.
Okay, great. Then I'll let you guys to continue, and I'll see you at 11, and I'll see you guys next week, okay?
Bye.
Joe and Emily and you guys, I'll see you next week.
Okay, bye. Take care.
Wish you all the best.
Okay, bye.
And thank you, Eddie.
I'm going to start using you as an example, okay?
That's fine. Thank you.
That's fine.
Okay. Great. Bye.
So let's start with a living example. You all saw how miserable he looks. Okay, he is sick. Okay, but he's also a professor. He has to teach his lesson. He has to keep up with his schedule, and he is sick. Okay. Now this is the best, the first lesson about planning to succeed. You need to know that you are going to have to go through very hard times. You are going to be sick. You are going to have a family war. You are going to be in process of divorce with your wife, maybe. You are going to have problems with your kids. You are going to have problem with your financial, with your money, with everything at work, absolutely a lot of problems. So you are going to feel like you lose control and you are down. Now the problem is that this is the moment when you, you test yourself whether or not you are going to succeed. Because these are the moments that decide, these are the critical moments in your business life that decides whether or not you are going to be a successful business person. So the first thing, I'm going to start with the body and then go to the mind, because if you want to succeed, first of all, you need to have the body to succeed. And what it means that having the body to succeed, because you're not going to be young forever, you know that, okay? So what kind of body you need in order to succeed? Basically, you need to have a kind of body that gives your mind the ability to be fresh, flexible, creative, to have an emotional, positive emotions, to have a positive image about yourself. Otherwise, you cannot succeed. And in order for this to happen, you need to have a certain kind of body. And what kind of body you need to have to be a successful business person? You'll probably say, you know, yeah, I'm not a professional athlete. Why should I have a body? Now, let me tell you something. There are a lot of common things between professional athletes and professional business people. And the common denominator is that they have to accept their strength in difficult moments. You know, a professional athlete needs to be tough. I need professional athletes are not just very gifted athletes. They are people who have a toughness, a tough mind that doesn't give up under pressure. And so in order for this to happen, basically you need to train your adrenal glands. Let's go clinical here, okay? Your adrenal glands release adrenaline and endorphins and all kinds of hormones that make you feel engaged and make you feel like when you fight, you are like playing, you know. So that put you in a state of mind that you love to fight. You are engaged in fight, in a fight. And so the problem is that business life is not like jogging, you know. When you do jogging, you have a linear track, a linear effort, you know. You have a steady movement, a steady movement. Imagine you are going up and down, or probably a better example is playing tennis. So you play tennis, you have to give all you have in a few seconds, probably 1.5 minutes, and then you have a break. Once again, you have to give everything you have in 1.5 minutes, then you have another break. Then probably you are exhausted and you are at the tipping point, and you need to win the game while you feel exhausted. And then you kind of push yourself and you get second wind. Like all of a sudden you feel engaged and you feel strong. So basically you need to have this kind of adrenal glands and this kind of brain in order to succeed in business. And it's very important to have a regime of physical exercise that simulates this kind of activity. So many successful business people love to play tennis or to swim or to do even martial arts. because this is a kind of educating their minds. Actually, the same mechanisms that you need when you compete in the court. The same mechanism you are going to use when you have a very stressful problem in business. And so it's the same thing. Your adrenal glands have to work very, very, very hard to cope with the situation. And after you finish, you need to relax, to forget about your stress. So I remember I once listened to an interview that a great professional tennis player, international tennis player, who, after having been a successful professional tennis player, he became coach and he became also manager in sport business. And so he was asked, when you pick up on a young athlete and you want to coach him into a successful international tennis player like Roger Federer, for instance, yeah. So what kind of quality are you looking for to see in him? And he said, the first quality I'm looking for is his ability to sleep on a plane. Now imagine, it's not his gifts as an athlete, but his ability to sleep on a plane, which means basically you have to fight hard, but when when the fight stops, you sleep, you relax, you do not stress yourself. And so, talking about business, what makes a successful business person? Basically, the first thing is that when you lose $100 million for a bad deal, you go to sleep at night and you have a very good sleep and you don't bother yourself. You don't kill yourself, you don't blame yourself, you take a good rest and then you start over. So the problem is how to handle defeat in order to succeed, because you are going to have many defeats and not so many successes. I mean, the successful person is successful not by his or her ability to succeed, but by his or her ability to manage failure and defeat. This is the secret here. So, because you are going to fail more often than you succeed. And if you have the ability to manage your failures without being discouraged and getting depressed, or maybe starting to drink or to take drugs and so on, and keeping a positive spirit, not getting into fights and being very angry and starting blaming everybody for your failure. I mean, if you are such a person, you are going to be finished. But if you can handle failure, then you are going to succeed ultimately, because you try once, you try twice, you try a couple of times, and ultimately you'll succeed in something. But most of the people give up after 2 or 3 failures. Successful people are those people who never gave up under failure. Now, when Fortune 400 or some People's Magazine comes along and takes an interview to a successful person, they just focus on the success side, Oh, this was a genius, he created that business, how smart he was, but they do not focus on the real story. How many times they failed, and how many times they managed to put themselves together after a failure, How many times it seemed that everything was falling apart, and they were still positive and confident and moved on with their lives. How many times they've been under pressure with family problems, financial problems, or probably litigation in court, sickness, like Dan, you saw him, being sick and all of this stuff, or being discouraged and feeling like giving up on everything. How many times they went through these episodes and they never gave up, but pushed on, and continued to be persistent in business. And so this is, what I mean by having a body to succeed. First of all, you have to have a body to succeed, in order to have this kind of body, you should educate your body to be strong under stress, under pressure, and then educate your emotions. Now let's talk about the emotions a little bit. You know, I want you to tell you a very interesting story. There was in former Soviet Union, there was a great teacher of acting. His name was Eisenstein. And what he did when he was asking students in acting to come on the stage and ask them to cry, okay? Of course, I mean, if you learn acting, you take acting classes, of course you can cry at your command. So they cried. They said, cry for me, please. And the students started crying, okay? Now, laugh for me, please. And they laughed, not big deal to laugh. Then he said, now, after you laugh, start crying again. And guess what? They were unable to cry, okay? So, I wanted to get a point, probably I was not clear enough. So, there are people who can cry at will. But if you ask them to smile and to laugh, and then to cry immediately after, they are unable to cry. So, if you are an actor and you play in a movie and you are supposed to cry, you better don't laugh, don't be positive. You get into a mood of being depressed and then start to cry. What that means? That means basically that we control our emotions by projecting them. So if you, for instance, if you express positive emotions, you are going to have positive feelings. If you express negative emotions, you are going to have negative feelings. So if you are a business person and you go through a very hard time, the first rule is to stay positive and to project positive emotions. So you go to your workplace and you have your colleagues, your mates, and you interact with them. And suppose that very day you have lost $5 million, let's say, yeah? On the very same day, you have learned that your sister has died in a car accident, yeah? To make things worse, your kid has been expelled from school. And your wife or your husband, your spouse, is not in a very good relationship with you. And you go to work, and what you have to do is not to complain, but be very positive. Smile, make a joke, look confidently forward, and this helps you keep your emotions in control. If you lose control of your emotions, then you are going to be controlled by your emotions. And if you are controlled by your emotions, you are going to fail. Why? Because it's very easy to be positive when you succeed, but it's more difficult to be positive when you fail. And if you are going to have more failures than successes in your life, this is a fact, it's a good prediction, then you have to know that if you do not continue to keep your spirit high in a bad situation, you are going to be crushed by your failures, and your failures will surely come. Let's go to the mind. Now, talking about the mind, yeah. At Princeton University, they made a very interesting experiment. They followed the business career of some of their alumni, some of their students, and they noticed something. The most successful persons in business were those who, in their student years, put down on paper their plans to succeed. So, if you want to succeed, you want to have a mind frame to succeed. In order for this to happen, you have to write down what is your plan to succeed and stick with what you wrote. you can change what you wrote in time, but you have to stick to it after you change. So it seems that to many people that success is just a matter of chance, but in fact it was a matter of planning. Now when I say that it's a matter of planning, I do not mean that basically you are going to follow your plan step by step, because you cannot follow your plan step by step, because life is such a chaotic mixture of random events that you cannot stick to a plan. What I mean is that you should have a plan and try to stick with your plan during your life, during your whole life, and be persistent in following your goals. And you are going to change your strategy to be flexible, to modify your plan, but you need to write it down and stick to it. Why? Because our mind is not, it's a very interesting mechanism, our mind. So we make a plan and we forget about it. We live in immediate, we live by our impressions and by our quick emotions. So during a day, one day, you are going to change a lot because a lot of things happen, and your mind is going to adapt. And by adapting, I mean, if this happens in a day, think what happens in 1 year. A lot of things happen, and most of the people make big plans. Oh, I am going to do this or that, but they forget about their plans. And it's normal to forget because there are so many things in life. So in 1 month or 2 months later, they are going to say, no, I am going to do the other thing. And then another 3 months, and it's another idea, another plan. And so life moves on in a very unpredictable way, and you accomplish nothing. But if you have a plan which you put down on the paper, you are going to remind yourself, to make yourself, to make yourself accountable to your plan, not to yourself. So you create like a kind of super ego. You write it on the paper, and as soon as you wrote it on the paper, you are no longer your boss. It's the paper. You know that is your boss, and you have to comply. This, like somebody else is making the rules, and you have to comply. You make the rules, you write a plan, but after you wrote it, you are going to comply like it's an obnoxious boss who is going to punish you if you do not comply. And this means a very, very hard discipline. So most of the people don't like discipline in life. So, I mean, they don't want to succeed because success is a choice. So this is the hard choice of success. Sticking to a plan that you, after you made it, you disagree with that plan. You say, oh, I made that plan, I'm not going to follow it because it was too unrealistic. Now, if you made it, you put it on the paper, you are going to stick to it. Now, secondly, a very important aspect here in making plans, writing them down, is that you need to have measurable goals. So first of all, you have to need a goal in your life. And let me put it plainly, technically speaking. First of all, you need to know where you are going to be in 5 years from now. I mean, this is not a matter of negotiation. There is no negotiation here. You don't negotiate this. You are going to think it through, to write down in 5 years from now, I mean it's 2017, in 2022, I am going to be in that position. And it's a decision you have made. Then where am I going to be in 2 years from now? Where am I going to be in 1 year from now? Where am I going to be next month? And what am I supposed to do today? So you have to break down your life like you do in project management. You are going to break down the project of your life in measurables, units, and monitor yourself against those water beds you set it for yourself. And so, of course, life is a big surprise. A lot of things are going to happen. that you never planned for. But it's still important to have this plan for yourself and to keep your goal ahead of you. Now, because one day when you succeed and become a very successful business person, they interview you and they say this is a genius, and he was a genius, and envious people around are going to read say that guy was very lucky. I was not that lucky, but as a matter of fact, we're not very lucky either. You know, you just fought the good fight, and probably a good example. Let's take a few examples from very successful business persons. One is Elon Musk. You know about Elon Musk, okay? So the creator of Tesla. He didn't create Tesla actually. He made it great. Okay, so to say. So I remember one episode about Elon Musk. So you said, okay, Elon Musk was rich. No, he was not rich. His first business was, I think, if I'm not wrong, was eBay. No, it was PayPal, yeah? He created PayPal. We all know about PayPal, yeah? Elon Musk was the first to have this idea to create PayPal. He made a very big fortune out of PayPal. He sold PayPal, and then he started Tesla, and he created X-Space, and started doing space travel business, okay? And now he wants to go to Mars and establish a colony on Mars. And so, now, I remember his wife, his first wife, his ex-wife, said that when they got married, she didn't know he was rich. He was already rich, but he didn't say because he wanted her to marry him out of love, not out of interest. And so they were dancing at the wedding, and he asked her, "How many kids do you think we are going to have?" And she was like, "Okay, you know, I need a nanny for my kid." And he said, "We are going to have a nanny for every kid." But he already planned, we are going to have 6 kids. They had only 5, whatever, okay? But his wife was telling that story, and it was very suggestive to understand the mind of a successful business person. Nothing was accident. He was dancing with his wife on the wedding night and already planning how many kids they are going to have, how many nannies are they going to hire, what school are their kids going to attend. So everything was planned to this man. Now, you say this guy is crazy, probably because he wants to establish the first human colony on Mars, already selling one-way trips to Mars for $200,000 a ticket, you know. But he's going to succeed. Why? Because he has a vision, he has a plan. He already overtook NASA in space program because he has a goal. NASA has no goal. NASA is just doing its business, its job. But he has a goal, okay? He said, I want to create my new car, Tesla. And when he created Tesla, everybody said, no, you cannot have you cannot have an electric car that it's affordable to many people and succeed because you don't have the infrastructure for it. And he had a lot of competitions, a lot of boycott from car dealers. And that's, of course, this business. But against all the hurdles, he succeeded in launching Tesla. Now, Tesla is all over the world, you know, and everybody wants to drive a Tesla. And Tesla is going to become more and more affordable. But everybody said that Tesla is impossible to succeed because it's an electric car, there is no infrastructure for electric cars, there is, the cost is too high, and he succeeded because he wanted to. Now he wants to build the biggest rocket in the history of space exploration, and he wants to take humans to Mars, and everybody says this guy is crazy.